Hello, this is Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden, and welcome to the last part of our cognitive core, the last part of our mental system, the defense system. The defense system and the self-preservation system are on a spectrum. They very much work hand in hand, and the self-preservation system is part of the defense system. I need to say, actually, the defense system is part of the self-preservation system. If you are using your defense system, there's a reason you need to be using your defense system. The self-preservation system is actually non-existent, and you cannot feel it if you are 50%, 40% consumption or higher. I got to think. I have no idea. I want to say for me, let me evaluate that. I would say 20%. I would say it wasn't until my fear system was down to 20% that I finally could feel my own self-preservation system. So you have your self-preservation system and your defense system. And it's the defense system. And this is really what's going on. This is, are we all paying attention? Parents, listen up. This is what happens. You come into the world and you're all set. You're fine. You got your cognitive core, identity's in charge. She's running all over the place, being weird. And then you find the word no. That's it. You find the word no. No is the best word there is in the world. The word no is a boundary. The word no is a boundary. When 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds say no to their mom and dad, they're giving a boundary. Most parents then turn around and spank the child for using a boundary. Instead of communicating with the child, or negotiating with the child, or learning the child, or teaching the child, they punish the child. They teach the child that a boundary is dangerous, so they don't use the boundary. Some parents laugh, mock at the child. I actually watched a YouTube video on this where the father literally sat there mocking the child. And the child learns that boundaries are not something to be taken seriously. Guess what, adults? We don't know how to use boundaries because our parents, when we were 2 and 3 years old, spanked us, mocked us, ridiculed us, punished us for saying no. I parent differently. When my children tell me no, I say, good job using your boundaries. I understand that it must have taken you great courage to stand up to me. Great job. I commend my children for using their boundaries. When I ask my children to do something, I always say to them, you can say no. And when they say no, I congratulate them because they know how to use their boundaries and they've been taught, you say no. The word no is self-preservation. It's identity saying, I don't want. I taught my children something about 9 years ago. It was back in 2015 that I taught this lesson to my children. Do not enable my laziness. Do not enable my laziness. This actually is a law in the house. This is my rule. My children are not allowed to enable my laziness. Can you go get me a glass of water? My children would say to me, I'm not allowed to enable your laziness. I taught them to say this to me because I wanted to stop. After a while, I stopped them and said, I need to say this to me. I need to take responsibility and I need to choose to not. No, I'm going to do it. So now I say, no, you will not enable my laziness. I will do my thing. That is the start of me really strictly teaching my children that you stand up to authority to protect the identity no matter what. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, my children respected me very strongly after that. Now, they always did, but this really took off. This really took it to a whole nother level. This is how you get respect from your children, by you respecting them, by you preserving their self-authority. This is where it all starts. So you're punished for saying no. You're taught that boundaries are bad. After a while, by the time you're 8, you don't speak. This is why. By the time we are 4, 8 years old, we stop saying a word because our words don't mean anything. Because we were taught children should be seen and not heard. You know what that does? That opens up 100% your child, exposing them to easy target for abusers. You have conditioned your child to be abused. First by you, because you have shut down their entire defense system. And now you've put them out there to teach them, if somebody is bigger than you, you don't stand up to them. If somebody is stronger than you just go along with it, because that's what you've taught them. Now you're inviting a whole sort of horrible, monstrous people around them. The problem is you've also compromised their ability to use discernment. So now they're not using the skill discernment. Now you've got a bunch of 15-year-olds who have no idea how to boundary up. They have no idea how to close down. They have no idea how to self-regulate and manage, because that is what you learn at the first and the second ethic. When you use the word no, you are using self-authority. You took away self-authority and they won't learn self-regulation. They won't learn courage. If they do have courage, it's going to be snapping back defensively, because the self-preservation system has shut down. The identity is going to fight for herself right up until she's about 15, 16 years old. This is what I like to call identity's last stand. Identity's last stand is literally the Civil War at the height, and you've got yourself out on the field. It's your parents and authority and teachers and abusers versus the identity, and the subconscious mind is turned on identity, and conscious awareness is shivering in the corner, sucking its thumb, and we call this identity's last stand, where she vocally steps out and rebels. And then the parents turn around and say, oh, rebellious, moody teenager. That's called gaslighting. That's narcissism. What it really is one final act of self-preservation before you go in the box. And then we all go in the box. I didn't go in the box. Everyone else went into the box. I didn't go in the box. Well, I'll tell you what I did. I ran away from home. And then I called my parents up. Well, they called me a day after they realized I was missing. A day. And they said, Anna, you need to come home. I'm not coming home. I have terms. I will come home when you start protecting me from my abusive brother who's beating the fuck out of me. Then I will come home. 3 days. 3 days later, I went home. I was in charge. My brother stopped beating me after that. I was in charge. So I didn't go in the box. I didn't go in the box. I took my self-authority and said, no, I'm going to tell you how it's done. You're not protecting me. I'm protecting me. My parents referred to me as an abusive, rebellious teenager. I have different words for it. I call it self-preservation, and you're not going to stand up for me, so I'm going to stand up for me. And my opinion, after 40 years, well, 25 years, has not changed. My father still thinks I was a rebellious teenager. The old ways need to die. So, if your child is rebelling, it's because you are an asshole. Sorry, but it's true. Your child's identity, Newton's third law of physics, for every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. And if your child is rebelling, it's because you are standing on their identity and you are not respecting them. So, identity's last stand. They're going to fight for their independence because people cannot be violated or enslaved. They can't. They absolutely cannot. So if your child is rebelling at ages 12, 13, 14, 15, it's because physics, you got a whole lot of stuff being projected into your child that you are projecting into your child. Not one of my children went through a rebellious stage. Not one. My daughter was eating Cheetos this morning at 8 a.m. for breakfast. We had a chat about it. Self-authority. I said to her, well, apparently she's got a lesson to learn. And she said, there is no lesson. There is no lesson. Okay, there is no lesson. The purpose of the learning journey of the discovered self is to discover the self. And if they are not free to discover the self, then the self will go to war. And that is the way of it. Our abuse stems from 2, 3 years old when we were punished for saying no. Bottom line, that's what this all comes down to. When we are punished for saying no. No is a boundary that most people don't even understand. The defense system has 3 stages. The first stage is violence, and it lasts between the first, second, third, fourth perspective. The second stage is communication, which is the 4th, 5th, and 6th perspective. The third stage occurs at the 5th, 6th, and 7th plus perspective, and it's change. So telling somebody that they should not get angry is uneducational. Telling somebody that they should not get angry is toxic and highly illogical. They are angry because most likely you have violated them. The person who is first to say you shouldn't be angry is usually the abuser, who has told somebody. If you are somebody who was taught that you should not get angry, well, the person who told you that is the abuser. Buddha and I have we don't get along. The 12 ethics were taught by 2 other people, Buddha and Christ. Buddha only made it to the 7th ethic. Buddhists actually violate the other 5 ethics regularly, and I have a problem with it. The 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th ethic teaches us self-regulation and moderation. The Buddhist does not moderate. They do extreme avoidance with their religious belief, where they go the entirely different way and they become stagnant in that way. That is a violation of the 12 ethics. At the 7th ethic, you enter a state of silence where you listen. And it's very hard to talk at the 7th ethic for a very long time. And that is where the Buddhists usually stop doing their practices. They stay in the 7th ethic. The 8th ethic is communication, where you learn how to transmit, to communicate and talk with others. And boy, you do not shut up. It is literally the communication and the vocal stage where you learn how to use your words to make a connection with another person. So these silent monks who have taken vows of silence are stuck at the 7th ethic and have stagnated their own growth, and they have violated the ethics. Monks are unethical. At the 9th ethic, you understand true empathy, which is compassionate foresight and your ability to connect with other people by sharing the stage with them, by learning about power economics through humbled submission, consensual slavery, and absolute gifted vulnerability. And at the 10th ethic, you learn emotional fluidity. At the 11th ethic, you learn logic. And at the 12th ethic, you learn forgiveness. You learn non-judgment. That's actually what forgiveness means. It's just non-judgment. And then, all of those integrated, you learn self-love. As I said, the Buddhists did not make it past the 7th. So this concept of anger is bad, anger is toxic. 10th ethic. 10th ethic, emotions are always right. The emotions tell you what is wrong and what you need to do. I have emotional regulation course. Go take a look at that. I talk about this extensively over there. Once you get to that 5th, 6th, 7th ethic, where you consciously decide to use your anger for something good, this is where physics gets really beautiful. Whenever something happens to you, it can come into you as negative energy. You take that negative energy into you, but you can transform that into something positive by using your potential emotionally stored energy and strategically using it to siphon it into something positive. So you can turn a negative emotional potential energy into a positive change. That's called the transmutation of trauma. It's absolutely a beautiful thing. In fact, that is what the healing garden is. It is literally my transmutation of my own trauma from all of that horrible stuff inside of me, and I needed to get it out positively, strategically. So I built the garden. Strategically, 100% of all of the garden is literally all of my stored potential energy of all of my pain transmuted and transformed into something absolutely positive in ratio to how much I suffered. This is my garden. This is the power of the transmutation of trauma. Anger is the most beautiful emotion there is. You are literally in the middle of my anger right now. And this is what the Buddhists failed to learn. You are standing in the fruit of my anger. It is a very beautiful thing. Learn how to manage your anger properly and see what it can do. But if you suppress it, if you siphon it off, you can't use it. This is a skill we will be teaching you how to do. It's my favorite skill, transmutation of trauma. Thank you so much. And may the kindest of words always find you.